I've ridden motorcycles all my life, but I can count the times on two hands as a licensed motorcycle rider that I have spent any time as a passenger. Sure, as a child and a young pre-rider, I spent lots of time on the back of motorcycles. But as an adult, the last time was 20 years ago. In fact, I don't enjoy riding as a pillion. I'm not sure if it's the fact I'm not in control, which probably tells you something about me, or that I can't see where we're headed. Regardless, it does mean that while I have ridden with a pillion for thousands of kilometers, I only have an outsider's idea of what being a passenger on a motorcycle is really like. Step in, Mrs. Marble. In this video, I'm going to focus on the Pillion's perspective of touring, and what the BlueMarbleRider team does to make the Pillion seat as a pleasant place as possible. And this is vital. If you have grand plans of touring on a motorcycle with your partner or friend, instead of being trapped in a more conventional booth on wheels, then you need to take this into account. I'm not going to spend the time detailing how we pack or what we take for our longer tours. I've done plenty of that in other videos. I'll link to them at the end of this one. And before I start, did you know that about 92% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed? So if you hit the like and subscribe button right now, that would really help me and my content. Cheers for that. Okay, on to the video. There are two parts to a successful tour with a passenger. The first part is before the trip. It's the mental comfort and the safety of your passenger and developing that. Of course, a sense of security is the first priority for your passenger and therefore for you. If your passenger is worried, then your journey is going to be short and they're going to be infrequent. Working up to being confident as a passenger on a motorcycle is vital, as is being a comfortable rider with a pillion. Riding slowly, sensibly and smoothly is an absolute given. Practicing slow speed maneuvers with the pillion on the back before loading up the bike and going on long trips is a great idea to develop the added strength, the balance and the muscle memory you will need on your trip. Riding fast with a pillion is easy. It's the slow stuff that takes all the skill. I learned that trying to impress a pillion with how fast you can go is the quickest way to lose the trust and confidence of friends and passengers. Rather than try to keep ahead of another motorcycle or car, allow them to pass you.
There we go. That's how you do it, he says.
Demonstrate to your pillion that you are level-headed, trustworthy, and have their best interests at heart. Allowing the passenger to have input into planning and destinations, accommodations, campsites, duration of the day's journey, and knowing their weather tolerance is also a must. It's part of the fun. If the pillion has input and an interest in seeing something or being somewhere, then they're more likely to invest in being on the bike with you.
Must be for boats. See, all boats to the left.
Oh yeah.
So that door would open. And then it's a lock. I think the boats would go in there and then it would lift them up.
Cool, I'll just get that on this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Without that, you will be solo quickly, as uncomfortable or scared are not words that most people want to be associated with when on the back of a bike. Okay, now that's out of the way, let's focus on the second part to having a successful tour, and this is the big one, the physical comfort and security of your passenger. The first thing I was ever told when on the back of my uncle's AJS 500 as a nipper was not to move a muscle at all until we're stopped, whether that be at a traffic light or the end of the journey. Being a small motorcycle, it was easy to disturb that AJS or overwhelm the frame and suspension, leading to the infamous unwanted automatic lane switch. Never a nice thing. The larger the bike, the less critical this is, but as you might know, a fidgety pillion, particularly at lower speeds or very high speeds in corners, can make the motorcycle feel flighty or squirmy. Pillion pegs are often set higher than rider pegs, so unlike the driver, shifting passenger weight and moving around on the seat in order to maintain comfort, relieve that numb bum, or reduce the cramped leg feel is not easy without disturbing the trim of the motorcycle. So what to do about that pillion comfort? Larger touring or ADV bikes often have lower pegs, which may enable the pillion to move by using their feet to brace rather than bucking forwards and backwards, which will disturb the bike. For this reason, my pillion likes regular brakes and sometimes puts a sheepskin down on the pillion seat. Seats have varying degrees of comfort, but I haven't met one, either OEM or aftermarket, that will allow you multi-hour or multi-day rides without needing to get off once in a while. Avoiding fatigue is vital if you want to ride most of the day. The V-Strom can go hundreds of kilometers between fill-ups, and expecting my pillion, my passenger, to only get off when fueling up on a touring bike with a 20+ liter tank is likely asking too much. My wife is an excellent pillion. She's rock steady. She grew up on the back of bikes and seldom complains, but building in brakes and taking advantage of spontaneous stops is part of that.
And yeah, very, very beautiful. Guy enjoying himself there. There's Harley resting his bums. I know how he feels. We will be doing the same thing soon. So we just stopped somewhere outside of Greenwood. Greenwood is 2 kilometers from here. And saw this interesting old tunnel. Don't know what it's about, so thought, well, you know, it's one of those days where we're just going to stop and check things out. Okay, so that was a tunnel of flags. Long story short, it was a road tunnel which a railway went across. CPR took all the infrastructure away and they buried this tunnel, and then sometime in the early 90s they reclaimed it. In 2000 they decorated with flags, but since then, I'll whip up a few pictures for you, the flags are long gone, and various artists, in quotation marks, have decided to put their own thoughts there. Yeah, try not to be offended by some of them. All meant in good humour, I'm sure. Going on the GSXR there, that noise has got to get on your nerves after a whole day. Get the lovely bikes, but get a different sprocket on the back or something, or stock exhaust for long trips. So we're coming into Greenwood.
It can be as simple as stopping in a lay-by with a historical plaque to read, or pulling over at a viewpoint while standing and rehydrating, snacking, and using washrooms if you passed any.
Oh, we just pulled off the highway just because we saw a little sign saying Glade Ferry. There's a river here. It must be either the Columbia or the Kootenay. But I thought, hey, you know what? This will be worthwhile just taking a quick peek down here and seeing what this ferry looks like. It looks like there's roads across there in the place called Glade. Oh, there's the ferry in the middle of the... There it is. Look at that. There, it's in the middle and it's coming across. So, not sure if this is the only way across. Let's do some mapping. We also found out that there is a dam in Castlegar or something, and it's a pretty neat ride across it. So maybe we'll give that a shot as well. I think we'll just stop on the side and go take a look at it. Here's the Glade Ferry. There it is, going to the other side. Oh, it's a cable ferry. Look at that. And Glade is a little community on the other side. Has a general store and a few roads. And you can see it's a cable ferry. You can hear the cables wobbling. They're attached down here. It's kind of cool. Sounds like a couple of marmots having a good time, but it isn't. It's the Glade Ferry. Yeah. Did he? I wouldn't mind that job. Some people might say it's boring, but that'd be kind of fun.
If you don't have any comms, then this can be a good time to talk about plans and fun detours that present themselves. But that rest is vital. Motorcycles are evocative because, unlike cars, as I mentioned in my Wanderlust video, they allow smells and sounds to permeate the rider's senses. Once, several years after my wife's father died, we took a ride over the coastal mountains and down into the central BC semi-desert. The emerging smell of dry sagebrush was strong, and it transported her back to her childhood in Ashcroft. She teared up, she told me later, and it reminded her of her father. It was an experience she'll never forget. Of course, that same environment can include cold temperatures, wet weather, so easily accessible gear is vital. Stopping ASAP, layering up and putting on waterproofs when it starts to rain is also something that makes the journey more comfortable for your passenger. You're behind a screen. They may not be. Having a heated vest, worn gloves, good waterproof boots, vented jackets, neck buffs for warmth if needed, and an interior sun visor in her helmet are all things Mrs. Marble mentions to me as making a big difference. Of course, there's the motorcycle itself. Having a stepped seat on a motorcycle can be both a boon and a bust. If you have a screen and airflow is deflected around and above the motorcycle, then a stepped seat can give the Pillion a peekaboo view ahead, being able to see around or over your helmet without too much buffet. But this can also be a disadvantage if the seat step is huge, the peg's high, and there is no screen or a low screen, like on a sport bike or a sport tourer. The wind blast can create fatigue, dragging on the Pillion's helmet. The physical effort required to maintain equilibrium will develop your Pillion's core strength, although I'm not sure that was their plan. Mrs. Marble won't ride without a top box or large, soft roll bag to lean on. It's both comfortable and safe. She has been known actually to nod off, and I've had to nudge her and pull over as she was too comfortable. The top box also allows us to access water, snacks, waterproofs, and to lock electronics and valuables out of sight while we spend time off the bike. It's quick and easy to access. If we use the giant loop roll bags or other large soft luggage options instead of the top box, then the hard side cases on the V-Strom allow us to pack items that are easily accessible again, and in the same way as the top box would, they're lockable for those valuables. Mrs. Marble also likes that. Mile munching for the sake of mile munching is no fun for the passenger, and get-there-itis can be as deadly on a motorcycle as it is in an aircraft. Riding on a motorcycle is more physically taxing than being in a car. You're in the sun, in the rain, in the wind, and surrounded by that noise. Don't dismiss how much this can take out of you. Concentration is vital for both the driver and the passenger, so good rest is a must. When we tour, we plan less mileage on slower, windier roads, enjoying views and the ride. One tank on the V-Strom is about 300 to 400 kilometers or 200 to 250 miles. That's plenty of fun on small roads and allows for lots of stopping and sightseeing. Gassing up when half empty during the day's journey is also a good plan, as you both get a break, a washroom, and you won't arrive at your destination on empty. It can't be any fun trying to find fuel, lasting at night or first thing in the morning. I can't count the number of times that we've arrived to find a gas station shut down, closed, or just out of fuel, like in Kaslo a couple of years ago. Fuel up when you can. I know I keep mentioning it, but every stop is a great time to rehydrate because heat and wind will suck you dry quickly. Headaches in helmets are not pleasant. We like to find a small local bakery or a coffee shop mid-morning to quiz locals and refresh ourselves. It's always a great way to find out what to see in an area and chat about what we just saw on the journey. We often camp one night and stay in a motel or hotel the next.
Outside. So divided into rooms in a house.
This allows us to get one comfortable, excellent night's sleep at least every second night, and has the advantage of readily available showers and bathrooms, small luxuries that can make the difference on the ride, particularly for a Pillion who may not be as used to austerity as you are. The other advantage of a motel hotel is they may have laundry facilities, which is something I never think about, but it's a must with limited packing room on a bike. It also dries out that wet riding gear nicely. We split the difference here, and I choose the campsites. Part of Mrs. Marble's enjoyment is the planning of motel or hotel accommodations, which she is much more fastidious about than me. She enjoys finding quirky places to stay. Using Google Maps to locate a nice restaurant or cafe within walking distance with a good menu for dinner is always a plus and a way to get some exercise.
But it's a really nice place, lots of great menus. So here we go. What does it look like? It's quite salubrious. Very nice place, actually. Yeah.
My daily record with a Pillion is 900 kilometers on highways. It is not something we enjoyed. We know we're capable of it, but why? When there are so many more interesting rides and routes and places to stop.
Different Headley mines. And the one that it's most famous for is this one up here. So if I take my finger, that is many of the buildings from the Mascot mine, which should be open in a couple of years. But do not go up there right now. You'll be fine.
The advantages of riding with a passenger, particularly a spouse or a partner, speak for themselves. But less obvious advantages are that they are an extra pair of eyes and ears. They can help with navigation and safety. On the Rattlesnake Pass, crossing between Washington and Oregon State, she was able to spot a logging truck winding up the cliff-sided narrow road and warn me that it was going to meet us around the next corner. Luckily for us, he'd spotted us too and pulled over, but it was nice to know she was looking miles ahead over the canyon side and down to the other side for trouble. And while comms aren't necessary, and I've avoided them for years, during the last few tours they have proven useful for us to be more spontaneous, to help with navigation, and to spot destinations while I focus on the unfamiliar road. Mrs. Marble will use hers to listen to music or a book, and frankly there are times she's desperate to get back on the bike to continue listening to her story and damn the view, and that's always good for us riders. So, having a partner to share a motorcycle trip with is one of my favorite parts of riding, so making sure that continues to happen is my priority whenever we go on trips and tours together. But how about you? How do you ensure your passenger has as good time as you do? Share your nuggets of wisdom in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, Blue Marble Riders. I'll see you all in the next one. This is the Blue Marble Rider, out.